What is poppin', folks? We back at it again. 2-minute warning, Fury. We're going to be talking about Week 9 discussions. Got a couple of good topics to talk about. We got Tim and Josh again. We might be seeing our other usual guest hosts joining us. I think Fogme might join, and Dula, aka Kyle Green, might join in as well. But you know what? I'm just gonna pass the torch to you, Josh and Tim. What's going on? What's good?
Shem, another interesting week of a lot of NFL activities. Of course, Fogman, he's smelling himself right now. That's why he's late. Eagles are 8-1. He wore a suit last week, suit and tie. So he's probably putting out some brew on and all kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure he'll get on soon. And we ready, Kyle. Quiet. So we're gonna start out. There was some WWE/boxing activity, Josh. I mean, we saw body slam, we saw chokeholds. I mean, with the Jalen Ramsey versus AJ Green.
It was lit.
Jim. They both got ejected. All right. The topic is they both got ejected. Now, also during the Saints and Bucks game, Mike Evans, wide receiver Mike Evans, and Marshawn Lattimore, the Saints cornerback, also got into a scuffle, but they didn't get ejected. He didn't get ejected, Mike Evans, but he's missing Week 1 action. How do you feel about that? AJ's playing now. Mike Evans not.
Yeah, and for those of you that didn't catch it, for our viewers, this is exactly what happened between AJ and Ramsey. A little shove here. Jalen trying to get in the head. What did this remind you of, Tim, right away? Probably Norman and Odell, right?
The Johnson incident.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look at this. He goes above and beyond. And right here at the bottom of the pile, that's 2, 3, 4. He's doing like 4 jabs right there on the side. I don't know where he's punching because these guys are wearing helmets and pads. So God bless AJ Green. But for whatever reason, he doesn't get suspended. But we move over to here to where we see Winston, for whatever reason. He's supposed to be. Now, mind you, Winston is over here on the sideline. This guy is supposed to be injured, getting checked up on. He's over here pushing the back helmet of Marshawn Lattimore. He says, yo, don't touch me. And then all of a sudden, looking like he got a 40-yard head start, just comes out of nowhere, lays him out. Yo, the crowd, the sideline. Yo, this is the craziest week of football I've seen since Odell and Norman. Wow. And how come, Tim, I can't for the life of me tell you how AJ Green gets off, but all of a sudden, this guy trying to stay. I'm not protecting Mike Evans, but if you're going to weigh them both, how the hell do you give Evans 1 game and him nothing? And if you're going to go with this whole, well, AJ Green, he's been a saint his whole career. He's not the type of person to just explode like that. Well, what has Mike Evans done in his career then? Riddle me that. What has he done? His resume is clean in my book.
I mean, Sim, I'll tell you this. I agree with it only because when you go back to that AJ Green and Ramsey, how they started, okay, you see the plays that it's like a block move. He's doing a little block towards Ramsey. AJ's walking away. Ramsey now, AJ to the floor, walks away like nothing happened. Mind you, Ramsey has a little history with certain wide receivers like Steve Smith and others. He has a little bit of an attitude when he talks about his next opponent. So, I mean, if you look at it, look at that. And he walks away. You know what you did. Shim, he knew what he did. Now, opposed to Mike Evans now and Marshawn Lattimore, I think Evans was way too aggressive because, number one, the rookie cornerback was shutting you down the whole game. So you saw green light to let it all out. And now, I'm sorry. All you had to do was go between, you argue, you push him back. You went and had, like you said, that
he knew what he was doing, exactly. But if he's the instigator, aren't you supposed to get into heads of people? Isn't that what makes a great defender? How are you going to fault Ramsey? He knew exactly what he was doing. That's the whole point. He's trying to get in their heads, and he's succeeding.
Right.
If he didn't get called for his little shove to AJ Green, hey, more power to you, player. Do what you got to do. And if he's getting in his head, I kind of want that in a player. I think I like Jalen Ramsey for this. I'm sorry. I think this is, if you're winning the mental game, you're going to win probably 100% of your games when you have the mental factor completed in your aspect.
Listen, I agree. I want tough players. If I'm a coach, I'm not mad at Jalen Ramsey. I'm not mad at AJ Green. I'm not mad at Marshawn Lattimore, and I'm not mad at Mike Evans at all. I'm not mad at anybody. You want to have that mental toughness. You want, it's trying not to go all the way back, but when Odell Beckham Jr. and Josh Norman, that was what brought the NFL back to its roots where, yeah, we had those incidents back in the days. I'm not mad at Odell. I'm not mad at Josh Norman. Again, we're going to say, hey, kids, fight. But behind the scenes, that's what I want you to do. I want you to do whatever you can to get under that person's skin. Get them. It's like same thing like the NBA when they flop. When you little nuts, they jump back like the Matrix on the floor. Like as you clothesline them, you want that. You want actors on your team. Hey, listen, that's what it's all about. So I'm not mad. I mean, I think the punishment was fair only because Evans didn't get ejected from the game at all. AJ and Jalen Ramsey did get ejected. So I don't think getting ejected from the game and then suspending them afterwards is fair. But I'm cool with what happened.
I have to just interject a little bit with floppers. Be a good actor. That's all I ask for. You know what I'm saying? Be a good actor. Don't do like 10 backflips. Like, come on.
Hey, it works. LeBron. Excuse me.
So you're fine with AJ not getting a game? I mean, it kind of relates to almost like the Andre Johnson incident years ago with Cortland Finnegan. He ended up getting a game. He kind of had the same reputation, always a good stand-up wide receiver, good NFL athlete on and off the field, stand-up type of citizen. So I get the good history, but hey, when you do a dirty deed, you do a dirty deed. We saw Danny Trevathan get a game, even when he had a clean history, and Derek Brooks gave him that clean history rap. He said, you know what? All right, in your appeal, I can understand where you're coming from. You're doing this, etc. Right. So I will give you some leniency, but I don't know, Tim. I don't know if I agree with it. I mean, you got to be consistent across the board, and that's what the NFL is not doing in terms of punishing and suspensions. And they have opportunities to fix it and trend upwards with the consistency in that department, and they still fail flat on their face every time.
I have a opinion on that, but I'm going to let Fogg shoot from your chest.
Foggy.
How you doing, fellas? Sorry.
It's good.
Josh, I was listening to you, and I agree with you 100% as far as Jalen Ramsey is concerned. You like a player like that. He's like Cortland Finnegan 2.0. He got into AJ's head, and like the old adage is in the NFL, hit first, don't hit back. Because the guy getting hit back is the guy that's going to get flagged 9 out of 10 times. As far as consistency, I saw an argument, and I kind of agree with it and understand it. I was upset, partly because Mike Evans is on my fantasy team in 2 fantasy leagues.
Understandable.
But I get why AJ Green wasn't suspended. I mean, he missed the whole game, basically. Had Mike Evans been thrown out of the game, he might not have been suspended. We might not be looking at a suspension, and we might be talking about him just getting fined for what he did as opposed to a suspension. So I don't necessarily think that the NFL needs to show consistency from this aspect. I think in this particular situation, initially I felt they got it wrong, but after reviewing it and looking at it, yeah, I could say they got it right in this particular case.
In my opinion, the problem with the NFL, they take each issue day by day, like to the point where they're only like putting out fires. They're just putting out. They don't take their time to say, okay, let's create a standard from all aspects, when it comes to politics, when it comes to if a athlete go out of line, how we deal with them, when it comes to outside the court, when it comes to domestic violence or any conduct that does not shine well under NFL. They don't have a platform. They don't have any standards. So it seems like they're focused more on the business side of things and only the business side of things. And they're making their life so much harder. They're making their business so much harder. All they have to do is during an off season where there's less shenanigans, come up with standards and then say, hey, NFL players, you have a new contract to sign. Follow these standards. You break the standards, you're going to be punished. End of story. Until you don't have to have any feelings about it. You don't have to be triggered. It's X, Y, Z. You do X is wrong. Y is your punishment. End of story. And they don't even need to have opinions. The owner's got to come out and say something. Godell have to make an opinion. Action. There's no opinions. It's X and Y's. That's it.
But I can understand why the NFL don't do that, because the thing is that it's a business. When you having star players, especially the two biggest name on each separate franchise going at it. Let's keep this real. Let's just say this is a playoff starting. Let's just say the playoff was next week. You think they're gonna suspend Mike Evans? No, they're gonna fine him heavily. Why? Because hey, listen, this is rating. This is what the fans want to see. This is seeing ticket holders coming to the game. I mean, it was a scuffle, fist fight. It happens. I mean, I just think correctly, if you got punished that game, like the way AJ Green and Ramsey did, if you got punished that game, okay, that's your punishment. You ejected. We're gonna move. You're playing the next one. Mike Evans and Lattimore, they didn't get ejected. They still kept up. Well, Lattimore shouldn't even get touched anyway because he didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? He was just standing there. But Mike Evans, I think what he did was way worse than what Evans way worse than what AJ Green and Ramsey went through. Because he went full speed, and all you saw was Lattimore's neck like just snapped. That guy. He didn't get ejected at all. So it was a good thing. Okay, you didn't get punished for that. We're gonna suspend you for one game. And I think it was fair. If you got one guy ejected, one got suspended. And that was it. Especially when the referee comes in and says, okay, it's over. Now, I know you guys didn't hear this part. Jalen Ramsey also, when he got ejected, went to the Bengals locker room. Did y'all hear about that? He went to the Bengals locker room and tried to force his way inside the locker room and hit AJ Green. So my thing is this. Now, if we want to say, okay, suspension, okay, AJ got ejected, Ramsey got ejected, but AJ did the right thing and stood in the locker room, waiting for the team to be finished, going to team bus and bounce. We had Jalen Ramsey leaving his locker room, violating another issue, going to the other team's locker room to continue this. So, I mean, if that's the only thing why I think the NFL should get at Ramsey even more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to jump in real quick. I agree with you, Tim. I'm not saying that coming with rules to be heavily punishing. You have a business to run. I'm just saying they're smart businessmen. They should be smart enough to come up with reasonable punishment where it does not affect the business, does not affect the game so much, or I should say the season so much, but at least sends a message, hey, guys, stay in line. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Fog.
I agree with you, Sean, 100%, because every business has a policy and procedure handbook and has a layout on how they monitor situations like this. The problem is the NFL has never really had to do that. They've been able to handle situations however they want to handle it without any type of repercussion that would affect the business from a financial aspect. Now they're having to deal with something that they've never really had to deal with before. And you would think all these intelligent individuals who are making multi-millions of dollars would be able to figure something out, because they've all been either in business, run their own business, are attorneys, were attorneys for businesses. You would think they would have some sense of how to handle this, but because they've never had to handle this before, and because of how fluid, like Tim was stating, well, you don't want to suspend somebody for a playoff game that's going to affect ratings. They are really going to have a juggling act. How are we going to impose these policies? How are we going to impose these suspensions or these fines on these players and still have it not affect the business? This is something they haven't figured out yet.
I agree, fellas. Let's get into our next topic of the night, because I'm sure we could talk about that for a long time. Sunday's debacle at MetLife Stadium. 51 points the Rams scored, and that was the third worst defeat at home for the Giants in their franchise history. So, fellas, I'm going to ask you first. I want to hear from the panel. Is that enough to seal the fate for Ben McAdoo?
Yes, of course. I mean, listen, I'm just going to give out just one play. The play when Robert Woods took what it should have been maybe a 3 or 4 yard screen that made it what he took it all the way to the house, where all you saw was nothing but giant players standing around, and you clearly saw Eli Apple, round pick cornerback, was just standing there, just looking at it, coming at him, make no attempt to even touch Robert Woods. You go to the sidelines, all you saw was Olivier Vernon put his hoodie on. I mean, was this a message? I mean, I'm just that play alone. You can see, was that for real? Was it a message towards McAdoo saying, "Hey, we quit on you"? I mean, my God! Listen, a lot of Giant fans, not you, Shin, but a lot of other fans that I know, either in 2MW or outside of 2MW, of Tom Coughlin, and I've never seen players act this way around Tom Coughlin. And it's not like these are the guys that Tom Coughlin inherited and McAdoo took over. McAdoo was here at the same time these guys came here. So you know the guy, he was a coordinator first, then became a head coach. You know Spags. Spags been there and came back. You understand? So guys coming in late, guys complaining that, hey, listen, we don't get the same treatment as Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, it's a lot of different things going on. I'm sorry. That game was the worst. And on top of that, Shim, it's time for McAdoo to leave. It's time.
I disagree. It's not enough to get him fired, because he wasn't the one that put this team together. He's going to get a pass because of the injuries on the team. So no, it's not enough to get him fired. There's not enough weapons around on that team. That team is atrocious. They did nothing to address the offensive line. We've had this discussion before. Let's not beat that dead horse. And the fact is, it's not necessarily his fault entirely. The players have to play like they're playing for something as well. It's not him. Yes, he's got to be a motivator, but at the same token, I don't think the players gave up. I think the players have quit on themselves. It's not. Yeah, I don't necessarily believe this is his fault. And again, I think it goes up to who put this team together. Unfortunately for him, at season's end, I think there's going to be two ways to look at this. This is going to be a team that's going to rebuild, and they're going to get rid of both Reese and McAdoo. Or they're going to stick with both of them and start retooling from the offensive side to see if they can make one more run with Eli.
Tears me up a little, because the part of me, absolutely, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just have to make a announcement with Trisha's input. She says Ben McAdoo needs to tweet, "I don't want to be here," for him to leave.
Yeah, seriously, that'd be nice if he had a Twitter instead of doing his hair all the time this season. I'm not sure because a part of me absolutely wants him to leave. I feel like he has lost the respect of the players. I think that's what this whole DRC and Janoris Jenkins aspect is coming from. Never would have saw this last year when they were balling out and they were on a grind, but now it's been this way since last season. You know, towards the second half of last season, the defense has been trying to challenge that offense to get their act together. It's becoming a bit of a turmoil, and obviously that, you know, being an offensive head-minded coach, that the looks are going to start looking at Ben McAdoo, especially when he was doing the play calling. He turns that over after 21 games, gives it to Mike Sullivan again. Orleans Darkwa has 116 yards against the Denver Broncos away. You haven't seen that since probably 2015 out of the Giants, or 2014 early. It's a little bit of okay, wow, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe it doesn't look like you qualify for this job in a sense. But knowing how the Giants are operating lately, and if it's something that I personally want or most fans are actually chanting for, you're probably right, Fox. We're going to see Ben McAdoo get extended 5 years, and Jerry Reese extended for 10. No, but in all seriousness, if we were to part with Ben McAdoo, I personally don't even know who I would want to come fill in, because you can list a few names out there, fellas. We can talk about this openly, and what other teams are possibly going to be getting rid of their head coaches. For me, the only coach that really sounds enticing would possibly be Sean Payton reuniting with the Giants, since his contract is up after this year. You know, being a pre-offensive coordinator with the Giants, maybe there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to want to come back and actually have that head coach role in one of those, you know, prestigious, not now, but franchises in the league. And but obviously you can go over the offensive coordinators, DCs that are most likely going to get a nod this year or this offseason. Matt Patricia, Mike Vrabel, possibly Josh McDaniels again this year. Jim Bob Cooter probably will be a hot name this year. And, you know, I think we're going to see some teams like possibly the Chuck Pagano getting fired, and Bruce Arians. I think he might go after this year. And I think this is Marvin Lewis's last ride as well.
Hey, Shim, I have a quick question for you. Yes or no? Because we do have a caller just join in. But my question for you, Tim, is basically on Fogg's response. He gave a good argument for McAdoo. Is that a good argument? Yes or no? You know, you're a Giants fan.
No. Fogg makes argument. Is very fair, and don't get me wrong. I think McAdoo should be fired. Now my prediction is, will he? No, he won't be fired. Everything Fogman came out and said, I agree with Fogg, is a reason. Those are reasons you could put into why he won't be fired. I think I believe the team quit on him. I think there's something going on in that locker room, how he treats the players, because I've never seen this from a New York Giants football team. I'm a Cowboys fan. I follow all the NFC East thoroughly because that's competition going on. I've never seen players act this way towards a head coach, but I agree with Fogman. Those are very valid reasons.
Well, let's get this caller out of the way, and we'll dissect this more.
Yeah, okay. Who's this on the phone call? So
this is Jana.
No problem.
Sorry. What was that?
This is Jana. I have some things to say as a diehard Giants fan. I just have some things to say, and I want to say it without taking away from our platform tomorrow. But something, I'm not saying McAdoo, even though I always say McAdoo needs to get fired. That's just like the knee-jerk reaction. But Jerry Reese, he definitely got to go. Like, if anybody gets fired, he got to be the first one out the door. Jerry Reese, like, we've been giving him too many pieces to fix a simple O-line. Like, if he would have fixed that O-line, we would have been with better records over the years, like over the season. We can't refute that. He has ample, like, he's wasted draft picks. He's wasted opportunity. This is time for him to go. We may could give McAdoo, I wouldn't care if he gets fired, but if he didn't, we could give him another year without play calling. Like, he would have to give up the play calling. But Jerry Reese, he definitely needs a new GM. It is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
She's 100% right.
I say let
right
Josh keep this. Let's just, John said Giants fan.
I absolutely agree with you. I think because Jerry Reese has been there too damn long and he's been doing too many damn reaches over the course of 10 years, I think he will be the one to go, and he probably will be our kind of scapegoat this year. And I think Foggs is right in that sense that our management and our front office is going to use that as a staple, saying, "Oh, he had the injuries, he had Reese, giving him those draft picks, yada yada," and that's going to give him the out for this year to try to get another year. But in my defense, over getting rid of Ben, this has been happening ever since he was hired. We can look at the completion percentage for Eli and what he's done for them, but overall as the team, what was it in last year? We ran 95% of our plays with just a 3 wide receiver formation. Nobody needed to freaking plan or game plan against us. Cornerbacks were telling us they knew what we were running. It was, you can't be a head coach if a freaking 8-year-old can do the Ask Madden button. The same thing that McAdoo's doing.
Okay, sorry, what was that, Yenna?
But the thing is with with McAdoo, we all want to get rid of him. You're a Giants fan right now. You want him to leave, but we got to be a little more objective. Last season, our offense was that bad because he was play calling. In the first 5 games, he was doing that, and then he gave it up when we played Denver, and we looked like a whole nother team. But in addition, with McAdoo going, a couple of players need to go too. It is what it is. I say, we keep Odell. Marshall got to go. He hasn't done anything really for the better of the team. Then he got hurt. We could probably do without Dwayne Harris too. Vereen might be on the chopping block. A few players got to go too because they haven't done anything for the team. Vereen may could stay if they figure out, if we change, if the offensive coordinator calls the plays, let's see how he's doing another year with McAdoo. And if we don't have, if we don't do better next year with McAdoo as a head coach, giving up plays, and with some of the players going, then McAdoo got to get fired. Next season, he cannot be the coach next season, and we still have a losing record. It's playoffs with winning a game in the playoffs or bust. That's where that's where my patience is with McAdoo. Jerry Reese, he got to go. It's over for him. He got to go. I mean, the only position he really gets right is the wide receiver anyway. Come on now, he could go. Jerry Reese, he could go. His time is up. 10 years, and his time is up.
Well, if you don't mind me add on, this is why I disagree. Real quick, I disagree. First of all, I want to introduce, this is Yenna, joining Tristan, Sharon, and their new hit show, Out of Your League. This is where the females come out and speak their mind. Out of Your League will be on tomorrow.
That's
all
right.
But Yenna, I want to ask you a question because this is where I disagree with firing Jerry Reese. Okay, as a GM, he has two championships in his trophy case for the New York Giants. Number one. Number two, you're not gonna hit on every draft pick, but I will say this. Okay, going down memory lane, he has made some picks that made everybody go, "Wow, who is this cat?" And the guys turned pretty good. Let me go down the line with some players. Steve Smith out of USC. I recall Mike Williams from USC was the biggest guy coming out at 6'7". Steve Smith was drafted. This guy did wonders with the Giants. As a matter of fact, I recall he was one of the 7 rookies that played in the Super Bowl and Eli's first victory. Okay, Mario Manahan, Super Mario, they called him in Michigan. He was another wide receiver that fell during the draft, and he picked him up. Jason Pierre-Paul. Brandon Graham now was the guy that everybody said the Giants should have drafted.
Tim,
I believe out of
Steve Smith was terrible. In Jerry Reese's Super Bowls, Jerry Reese's Super Bowls were Ernie Accorsi's teams.
Wait a minute now.
They were not Reese's teams.
Hold on.
Andy Reid must have been a genius then, because you're equating Mario Manningham and Steven Smith like they're Freddie Mitchell.
Okay, hold up.
But may I go to the list?
Hold up for 1 second. Tim, just say your piece real quick because I want to hear from Yana. She has something on there.
I was trying to. I just got cut off. I'm trying to say my piece.
You're trying to add into what I said. I said besides the wide receiver, like, okay, aside from the wide receiver position, now name all the people that he drafted. JPP.
Okay, no. Okay, JP.
Wait, hold up. Finish, Yana? What was that?
JPP, he drafted him. He's not a wide receiver, and he panned out, right? JPP panned out. But how many other players, one, don't even play for the Giants anymore? If we just let them go, if we didn't want to pay them, or they're not even in the league anymore. Like, Jerry Reese has more disappointments than successes when it comes to drafting, period. But the fact that Eli is supposed to be the person, your franchise player, and he still neglected to get him protection. Look how bad Goff was for the Rams. He was terrible last season. But they fixed that line, and now this guy's looking like Peyton Manning out there. Like, that's all Jerry Reese had to do was work on that line. And we will be like Super Bowl down. But he hasn't done it. Eli's out there running for his damn life. And he can't even run. He ain't even fast. Jerry Reese gotta go.
All right.
Jerry Reese gotta go.
All right, fellas. Fight over it right now. Fight.
But yeah, I will do you. You know what? You're right. I won't name the wide receivers. I will name other positions. But let me break this down to you. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you're totally wrong now, sis. I'm not saying that. But I'm just trying to break this down to you real quick. It's very hard. It's very hard when your O-line breaks. And I could use Tony Romo for instance. When he didn't have no O-line, when we had 13 Pro Bowlers, the year after that, we had to draft an O-line in every draft. That's 5 years straight. Now, the thing is this. Going back to the Giants, when they had a solid O-line during that 2007 Super Bowl run, after that, if you go to every draft year, can you honestly say there was a legitimate offensive lineman that y'all could have gotten the first round? Now, for instance, the only year that I would say – hold on 1 second, sis. 1 second. The only year that I can say that Jerry Reese probably could have flipped it was when Odell Beckham Jr. was taken at number 10. Because even myself, nobody in the world knew who's this Odell Beckham Jr. kid. What's up with him? Nobody even cared. Nobody said anything. The only one who really said anything about Odell Beckham Jr. was Chip Kelly. That was the only one who spoke about it. And that draft, Zach Martin, everybody would say, for the Giant fans that I know, would say either draft Eric Ebron, the tight end, which he's a bust right now, or draft Zach Martin from the Dallas Cowboys, who can play tackle and guard. Now, y'all remember Odell Beckham Jr. Now, if we revisit that draft year and look at it now, bravo to the Giants. Y'all took the best wide receiver probably in football over Zach Martin, our top 3 guard. Y'all didn't mess that up. Now, going with Evan Flowers, nobody knew if this kid Flowers was going to be a bad pick. I know Shim, I know Fogmeg, I know Dulles, especially who was our draft analyst. He came out and said Flowers is a right tackle, not a left tackle. Okay, some right tackle, we try left tackles. It may work, it may not. But after that, how many other linemen was available in the draft, Fogmeg and Shim? Because even last year's draft, O-line was rated worse. I just think it was the timing of them trying to build an O-line, and there was nothing out there. But I will say, listen, Jerry Reese did a good job.
All right, what was that again? We didn't hear that.
After the 2007 Super Bowl, right? Remember the Giants defense. Everybody says Giants defense, won the Super Bowl, blah, 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 right? And I remember Jerry Jones having an interview like, we got to upgrade our offensive line. Did you see what that defense did to Tom Brady? So since 2007, Jerry Jones did pieces to the O-line, to what Dallas O-line is present. So why couldn't Jerry Reese, you're talking about in a matter of 10 years, that O-line should have been addressed. 10 seasons, It's really 10 seasons since the 2007 Super Bowl. Really 10 seasons. You telling me that offensive line cannot be addressed within the draft, free agency? We're really going to sit here and say that. We're really going to sit here.
May I ask you this? May I ask you this, Kenya? May I ask you this?
That have offensive line issues address their line in the offseason. Detroit addressed their offensive line in an offseason last season. So did the Rams. You telling me the Giants could not address that line?
Well, I'm trying to ask you that, Yenya. My thing was this: didn't last year you guys went 11-5? You guys had the best defense. Y'all took all that for the first time in Jerry Reese's career as a Giant. Y'all finally had cap money. Y'all took all that money, and y'all had the top 5 defense. I mean, as a Giant fan, wasn't you satisfied with that too?
We drafted Flowers. Why did we draft Flowers? This is what I'm saying. Jerry Reeves gets it wrong, man. He gets it wrong. He got to go. He got to go. He's not going to go. He got to go. And they send his, and it's man, I don't want the brother, him, but he got to go, man. We've been more than patient with this dude. This dude got to go.
So I'm actually one more question before we move on. One more question: is there anybody in the NFL draft coming up? We all know who Sim wants. Everybody knows who Sim wants. He's going for the tank off of Saquon. Is there anybody you want in next year's draft? Yenya, if you're picking the top 5 pick?
No, because it's like a gamble when you draft somebody. You don't even know if they're gonna pan out in the NFL. So it's okay, when they draft somebody, I just all right, let me see them in the regular season. I don't get happy or really, I don't really care. But
all right.
Yeah, I'm Jerry Reeves, he gotta go. Tomorrow I'll have my McAdoo ain't shit rant. But tonight, Jerry Reeves better be out the door before him. He better start putting his shit in boxes and just sitting at the door. So Black Monday comes, he's walking out the door. I'm gonna be in Jersey anyway when the end of the season, the end of the regular season. I might go to East Rutherford.
With your box of
Get
popcorn.
him out of here.
All right, Yenna. Thank you for joining us.
All right.
Thank you. As Yenna,
Hi, thanks for calling.
Out of your league. Oh man. Hey, Sim. Hey, listen, that's a passionate Giant fan right there. And you know what? She shares your passion, man. You know what? Wow. I could, but you know what? If McAdoo does return with the Giants, I want to know how the fan base is gonna be like.
Well, rather than talking about the Giants for the past half hour, let's break into other teams that might lose their head coaches.
Right.
I was possibly thinking earlier before Yini called in. I think this is going to be the year Chuck Pagano's possibly going out of Indy. And I think this is the final year. We're done talking about Marvin Lewis being in Cincy too. Now, possible replacements. Do you guys have any that you think is going to make the leap from the coordinator position up this offseason?
You know what, Sim? I'm not going to buy Marvin Lewis getting fired yet until I actually see that shit happen. At this point, I believe this man has something on ownership, because him and Jeff Fisher must have they've got some smoking guns on their owners, because this is unreal, the fact that he's been able to be as subpar as he has. And Pagano, I don't know, man. I think Chuck is going to get a pass. No luck was good luck for Chuck.
Oh wow.
Well, in my opinion, with the reason why Marvin Lewis is still there is because I'm not trying to bring race into the fact, but I do know when you have young athletes who are basically like something like Vontaze Burfict for the character he brings on the team from Arizona State. You need a coach like Marvin Lewis who could relate to the young kid. I mean, when he got drafted, he brought this kid over to his house for the summer. And this kid could play. I know he has a reputation of being a dirty player and all, but for the most fact, he's the best defensive player on the team. He's probably the second or third best player on the whole team, with AJ Green being number one, and however you want to flip him and Andy Dalton. So I think that's the reason why he's there, because the Bengals always had a lot of character issues on that team, and Marvin Lewis controls that. Remember, he had Chad Ochocinco. I think he shouldn't need to be fired. He should just want to leave, because he's been doing more babysitting than really coaching. And I think when he was with the Baltimore Ravens as a coordinator, I mean, he had that Ray Lewis defense going nuts. And it was strictly, he didn't have to babysit. You had men there. You had leaders. The Bengals has a bunch of issues going on. You still got Pac-Man Jones at 30-something years old, still doing the things he was doing since he got drafted. And
but Tim, you're saying every reason why he should have been fired already. At some point, the ownership, management, they're the one bringing these players in. He's part of the reason he's babysitting.
True.
But Fog, here's my question to you, Fog. Every head coach don't have the power to bring a player in. So I really doubt he has power to bring anybody he wants in. I think he has a voice where it comes to the table, say, well, how do you feel? And he'll say something. I think
as long as he's been there, he has to be able to pull some strings, because he wouldn't have survived this long in some other organizations.
But Fog, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think he has all the power. I think he's basically just that babysitting type. I think he should just want to leave. Then you know what it is? Maybe I take being fired as if saying you're not doing a good job. Where I think he's done a good job on that team is that the team falls apart on his own. What he got to deal with, he's babysitting. He's doing a lot of babysitting on that team. And you know, this is a shame towards a guy like AJ Green, who's a superstar player in this league. He helped a lot of teams win championships right now. But I don't think it's all Marvin Lewis's fault. I think if anything, look at the GM. Who's bringing these guys in here? Listen, I'm just doing my job as getting the team ready. I mean, that's the way I look at it. But I think Shim, these head coaches, because the NFL is getting so, you know, you see like Sean McVay from the LA Rams, and how, listen, the Rams are I think top 5 in passing and top 5 in offensive passing. So I think they're gonna, a lot of these anybody who gets fired, you're gonna see a lot of these guys go look to college coaches. The league is changing. So I see a lot of college coaches coming in.
All right, so I guess we need to run over to the next subject. I mean,
yeah, it won't take too long. I thought it was interesting because I think the Patriots. Now, it's just fantasize with me a little bit, fellas. Tom Brady's probably in the last year, maybe 2. Belichick is probably going to go with him. You would imagine, right? You don't think he sticks around and coaches too long after Brady's out. And then the defense isn't going to be too damn great as it's been in the past decade or 15 years. Matt Patricia, I think he's going to be one of the hotter candidates in this offseason for getting one of the interviews for a head coaching position. And I think he's going to finally just separate the umbilical cord.
Josh McDaniel, in my opinion, will be the new head coach.
Do you think he's a good head coach, or do you think he just got bad raps the first couple times around?
Hey, I believe Josh McDaniel could coach. My argument has always been with the Denver Broncos, the year he drafted Tim Tebow. The last 4 to 6 games of the season, when Tebow finally, maybe had Kyle Lawton, they went 6-1. When the team fell apart, he put Tebow in there. Tebow looked like a quarterback under Josh McDaniel. But then that's when Elway got hired, came in, and fired McDaniel. McDaniel went back to New England. But my thing was, what he did with Tim T transformed Tim Tebow. If anybody remembered those last few games, for 300 yards a game. He was not doing these trick plays or the pistol. He was actually quarterbacking. So that tells me how much Josh McDaniel, I believe, and I think under Bill Belichick, he's even better. So I think if I say Belichick was to leave after Brady leaves, Josh McDaniel will still be a Patriot. He'll be the Patriots head coach.
That's a possibility. I could see that if he stays and doesn't take a coaching job somewhere else, that's going to have to be something that's discussed prior to Belichick's departure.
But real quick, Shim's idea of Sean Payton going back to the Giants. Wow, good thought right there.
But it all depends if he takes the Saints to the Super Bowl this year, he might be back in New Orleans.
That's true. That is true. You know, he does got a house in Dallas. You know, Jason Garrett don't do his job. Sean Payton. What?
All right, fellas, let's talk about the Wests of the NFL are shaping up to be interesting. That's the NFC West and the AFC West. The reason I say that is because when you look over at the West, the Kansas City Chiefs were just storming away with the division, but now they've lost what looks to be their last three out of the four. Yeah, so
3 out of 4. Yeah, they won the last one against Denver.
So we look at their schedule. It looks like they will have a successful Week 10 against the bye week, hopefully. Then they're going to go to MetLife and just have an absolute field day, it looks like. So hopefully that gets them back on track. Now, right now, this is interesting because where they sit, they're about 6-3. They're leading the division. But Oakland might be catching a little bit of an edge. The Chargers are still worthy. I think they're probably the best 3-win team in football. The Chargers, arguably, they pose a little threat to the Chiefs. They could be a little upset down here in Week 15, so that poses a threat divisional wise. Just looking over the division, you got the Bills at 5-3 as well. Titans and Jags are both 5-3. So we're talking about, potentially if the Chiefs do get knocked down into that wild card spot, if they happen to go down below the Raiders, are they in threat? Because what it's looking like is Kareem Hunt and that running offense has failed to get 100 rushing yards. It looks like the past 3 games. Are these guys in jeopardy of losing out in the AFC West lead and possibly a wild card in the AFC?
Yes. It's Shim. I'm sorry. Listen, to all Chiefs fans, I've been preaching since week 1. I said before the trade deadline, in my opinion, they need a number 1 wide receiver. Travis Kelce, who top 3 tight end in this league, playing like the best one this year, is their number 1 guy. It's a tight end. It shouldn't be. Turning a special team player last year into your number 1 wide receiver is not going to get you nowhere, Shim or Fog. Kareem Hunt, a rookie running back, as like I said, the guy looks spectacular because nobody's seen this guy play. But the more you play, the more film you're going to give out. The Dallas Cowboys defense, who's always a laughing stock week after week after week by a lot of people, held them to 37 yards. Wow. 37 yards. So imagine a defense like in their division, like, all right, the Broncos. They got a lot of better guys than Dallas. The Chargers, the Raiders. Okay, well, maybe not the Raiders, but still Illinois. Right. All these gimmick plays is not going to get you by all the time. And I'm sorry to say, the team to watch out for, in my opinion, is the Red Hot Chargers. They're the ones coming up very fast. They lost 3 games straight. They're 3-5. They're only 2 games behind the Chiefs.
I'm going to say no. They're not in jeopardy, providing they get it right. Now, Tim, you just brought up something that was extremely important. Gimmick plays. That's not something they did in their first 5 games. As a matter of fact, they fed the running game solid and played off of the run. Now, they used gimmick plays from an aspect of involving Tyreek Hill, but it's the same way that Andy Reid used Deshaun Jackson in Philadelphia, if you recall. So it's not that bad. I think the biggest problem is they went away from the run. They went away from the Russian attempts. They went away from running Kareem Hunt between the tackles. And it shows. Their first 5 games, they ran for over 100 yards every single game. Their last 4 games, they haven't broken 100 yards rushing. They also haven't broken more than 25 attempts on the ground, which was something they were doing consistently in their first 5 games. Also, the way they've been using Travis Kelce. If you watch the way they're lining up Kelce, they're getting cute with the way they're lining him up. Allow him to sit in the slot or come off the tight end position. Let him run his read options off of the safety, off of the linebackers, and let Alex Smith and him connect. And that will the flow of the offense, the same way we saw Pittsburgh did at the start of the season, the first 4 or 5 games just look completely erratic with their offensive play. The Kansas City Chiefs have done just that. If they get back to basics, which it should be pretty easy to, stop getting cute with the way you're playing the game like it's a college game, and they'll be fine. Their schedule isn't really that tough. They should be able to walk away winning at least 11 games this season.
Shem, may I real quick, Fog, and I'm glad what you said. Now, I don't disagree with you. What I mean by the getting plays, like you said for Tyreek Hill, turning a special team wide player who did what he was doing last year, to a number 1 wide receiver. The dynamic plays from this guy's no more like they last year playing his role. You take him, you turn him to a number 1 wide receiver because the GM traded away Macklin. They didn't address that number 1 wide receiver. That's what they need. They need a go-to guy, a guy who can stretch the field. Travis Kelce is the only. My God, they're using this man and shovel pass up the middle. I mean, that's crazy. Now, going off the schedule now, Fog and Shim, you got the Giants next after they bye. Again, we all know what the Rams did, but again, Giants got pride, and I'm sorry they still have a good defense on paper, even though they're not playing well. Then you got the Buffalo Bills, another pretty good defense. Then you got the New York Jets, another pretty good defense. The Raiders, nah. You got the Chargers, and San Diego's hot. You got Miami Dolphins. Then you got the Broncos. So they could lose the next 3 games while the Chargers are moving up. I still think they're in jeopardy. But like Fogman did say, if you correct some of these different things and try it out and you just go, go solid and standard, it may work out for them. But I just don't see it's gonna happen. I think they're gonna need that go-to guy, and I think they should have made a trade before the deadline and get him a number 1 guy.
Well, what's really going to hamper them is their defense right now. Kansas City's just allowing way too damn many yards overall. They're lucky that they're going against some not-so-offensive juggernauts in those next 3 games. The Giants, Buffalo, and the Jets are all subpar to below-average offensive teams. And then Oakland, those are pretty much – they match up well because they're both going to be in a shootout, and their defense, is going to probably be allowing 35 to 45 points that night. So it'll definitely be I think a toss-up for them. But honestly, because they got that little cushion in their schedule right there, weeks 11 through 13, that gives them a little bit more of a head start, I think, in their cushion and separation in the division. And that probably puts them at 8-3. And from there, they'll just have that momentum and a little bit more confidence going into the rest of the season. The other part that I wanted to visit with you guys, wanted to get your opinion on, was the NFC West. As we can take a look over here, we can see that right now Los Angeles is playing red hot. And their offense is just taking off. 263 points on the year. Obviously trumping anything that the Seahawks are doing this year. And what's really surprising is that Seattle is even 5-3. If you were watching them this season, you would probably think that we're probably 500, maybe even a 3-5 team. But they're finding ways to win games. Russell Wilson is doing what he can. It's really that offensive line, just like the Giants, it's really hampering their success overall and for them really just dominating games. So we could take a look at their schedule real quick. We'll take a look on over here. taking a look to see that they traveled to Arizona. That's going to benefit them. Arizona not having Carson Palmer for the rest of the year, and it's basically just a stat padding season for Adrian Peterson for the rest of the season. It looks like Atlanta, not the same Atlanta that we've been seeing. They've been kind of hampered on that offensive side. That could benefit Seattle as well. Then they travel to San Fran, but I always look at those defensive opponents, even like Arizona in Week 10. That can be a tricky game. It could be a very divisional opponents. They're always playing you tough, no matter what kind of crap season they're having. But then we get some real tests going here. Seattle's going to face Philly, and then they're going to face Jacksonville, and then they're going to face the divisional opponent LA. That right there, that could be a 3 hat trick, sword stab right in the abdomens of the Seahawks. So for me, fellas, even with a winning record right now, 2 games above their losses, and still, staying alive in the NFC West, even with 5-3. Sean, what are you going to give me? Because I don't know. I think they're in trouble this year.
Missed 3 field goals.
Yeah, Blair Walsh, absolutely.
He would have won.
Yeah.
Again, Sim, I'm sorry. You said no?
I think that, like I said, that 3 losses, I think they're going to have in a row right there, especially with those divisional opponents coming up. I think that's going to put them at possibly like a 7-9 record, and I don't think that's going to be enough because you got the Panthers also at 6-3 right now in the South, and
well, I'll tell you this: my answer right now is no. And here's why: even with 3 field goals missed, you still should have beaten the Redskins. The Redskins had their whole offensive line was done. They didn't even play that game.
Mm-hmm.
You got issues with Doxson and Terrell Pryor. They don't know who to even start, who's the X, who's the Y, who's the Z. Crowder's struggling. D'Angelo Hall, my God, they signed him. D'Angelo Hall came back. He was playing. And where was he at this whole year? D'Angelo Hall, the old man. So Sean, no shade, but looking at the Seahawks right now going forward. Okay, you got the Cardinals this Thursday night. We know this way we're going to do our pick 'em, but I'll just let it know right now. Cardinals at home, they're also fighting for a spot. That's going to be a pretty decent game. Then you got the Atlanta Falcons. Julio and Matty Ice again going back to Seattle. We all know that was a close one. The 49ers and Seahawks, you got to win. You got a 2 week. I'm giving y'all 2 weeks notice. That's a W right there. But then here's the 4 stretch game where it's going to make or break the Seahawks season. You got the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, they're real. Got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, that defense. Hey, we're talking about that defense. Oh, Seahawks defense. If y'all was the Legion of Boom, these guys is balling. That defense could really do damage. Then you got the Rams. So depending on what your record is for that game may have some indications on the line. Cowboys, you come to our house. Now, I recall the last time you came over to our house, the Seahawks won 10-9 to Matt Castle. 10-9. Then the last game is the Cardinals. I mean, it may be for wild card spot or division. Who knows? But I'm looking at the overall. I thought the Dwayne Brown trade would have complete that line for Russ. Apparently, it didn't. Maybe it's Pete Carroll's play call. I don't know. Maybe it's you shifting 4 running backs to play the game. I don't know. So, in my opinion, Shim, no. Seahawks are not going to make it. I think the Rams are going to have that division. They're not going to make it. And I think somebody going to lose to will get the wild card spot over them.
Yeah, before Fox gets into it, I was just going to say, I believe the wild card teams over the Seahawks is probably going to be the Panthers and the Cowboys.
Might be the Cowboys, might be, might be the Eagles.
Yeah.
Hey, don't look at me that way, Fox. I need to see
Wait, I just got to say this real quick.
Stop it, Fox. See, we got along today. We cool.
I caught that.
Cool. Real quick. The Seahawks did make it on a losing record 1 year.
Well, that won't happen this year. No one's making it in on a losing record this year, Sean. So let's stop it. I didn't think the Seahawks were gonna. I thought the Seahawks were gonna struggle this year. I just didn't see the Rams doing what they're doing, but Seattle still has a chance to make a playoffs. When you look at it, the Rams, the Eagles, Saints, Vikings, Cowboys, those teams, if they continue to perform the way they're performing now, those are your 5 playoff teams. And you've got the Redskins, the Lions, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Seahawks giving chase. Of those teams, only Carolina has a better defense. And then when you look at the performance of Russell Wilson, he's 3rd in passing, 4th in passing touchdowns. The team's offense is 13th overall. Their defense is 12th overall. So they're right there in line. They're keeping themselves afloat, and Russell Wilson is really carrying this team. The problem is the running game. They don't have one. It's completely obsolete. I think they're in the bottom 3rd rushing this year. There's also another major problem, and if they correct it, they'll be fine. This is the most penalized team in the NFL this year. That is completely out of character for Seattle. Russell Wilson is carrying this team. He's one of the 5 best quarterbacks statistically in the NFL right now. And I get the Dwayne Brown addition. It's going to take some time for him. Give him 2 or 3 games. He'll be fine. That offensive line was not going to get fixed by one man. That offensive line has been depleted. They've struggled. They don't have a running game. They don't run the ball effectively at all. That offensive line doesn't block well on the run for the running game. So Russell Wilson has been carrying this team, but I think the NFC is mediocre enough that if Seattle can continue to stay afloat, they can finish 9-7 and make the playoffs.
Also, that secondary too hasn't been. Well, they have injuries. Not, he was out the last game, but the other side, Shaquille Griffin, the rookie, and what's his name, Jeremy Lane. It's and then Richard Sherman. He's getting older. I won't shit on Richard Sherman, but he's getting older. So listen, I tell you this, Shem. Seattle was a great team for the past 5 years. As you get older, you have to start over. That's it.
That's right.
I mean, I think they try to do that in the last couple of drafts. They've been heavily on the defense. And we'll see in a couple of years, maybe the picks pan out. But they haven't done anything really on the O-line. They did a little bit on the offense, receivers. They did a lot on the running back, but none of them really pan out. But yet you can't really blame them. The O-line is the lowest paid O-line in the league. So it's like, what's going on? I mean, you get what you pay for, right?
Absolutely.
You sure do.
On that note, the last topic.
I think that wraps it up for us until Thursday pick'ems.
No, yeah, one more topic.
What's that?
What more topic?
You're trolling
Who's
us
the most impressive this year? The most impressive quarterback this year, Jared Goff or Carson Wentz? Now, real quick, I'm not gonna throw no stats, tick for tack with stats because they both playing great. Just let it be known.
Carson Wentz stats are better.
See, Fogg, you didn't see. That's what I'm saying. I'm a Cowboys fan. Yes.
Tim,
I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm not going to
give your opinion. Give your quick opinion. And next week we go in detail. Go ahead.
I can talk.
No. I was just trying to say next week we'll go in detail. But go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is this: I want the world to know I'm a Carson Wentz fan from the draft. I wanted my Dallas Cowboys to get Carson Wentz if he fell to their lap. Okay, he's on the Eagles now. I love Dak Prescott too. I'm a fan of Dak. So I'm not throwing no shade at him. I'm not going to use no stats. But I will say the reason why I say Jared Goff is having a more impressive year than Carson Wentz only because of what Goff had to go through from last year to this offseason to this year. Last offseason, he had Jeff Fisher. Okay, that was crazy. We all know what type of team the Rams were. It was garbage. Okay, he had nothing. McVay comes in out of nowhere. Wade Phillips comes in out of nowhere. Now, we're talking about two brand new head coaches going on to a team. Normally, a team that transitions from a 4-3 to a 3-4 team, that takes time. Normally, when a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach comes in here, installing a new offense to a team, that takes time. These guys, this team right now is what, 5-1? All right, 5-1. So
6-2.
Excuse me, 6-2. Excuse me, 6-2. So with that being said, was a rookie last year. This is his second year, first time head coach, first time with a new defensive coordinator. First time with young players. Cooper Kupp's a rookie. Robert Woods has been damn, this guy's better than the last Robert Woods we had. Then you got a new addition with Sammy Watkins, who's hasn't been that guy. Now, Todd Gurley was drafted there. Yes, Todd Gurley was in a slump last year, too. So this whole new thing, Jared Goff did the one thing that everybody thought they wouldn't do. Nobody here picked the Rams to be number one. We did pick the Eagles to be number one. Our other host, Dullah. So I'm gonna say the most impressive year is Goff.
That was a brief explanation.
Yeah, that was real brief. No, Wentz is more impressive. I'm more impressed with the Rams from an aspect of their offensive line. Tim, you said that Gurley was in a slump last year. He wasn't in a slump last year. That offensive line couldn't block for him last year.
Oh, that's what it was.
Okay.
Same guys.
So the
guys this year.
offensive line, the way the offense changed, the way it's been implemented, and the way McVay is using Todd Gurley, not only in the run game, but the passing game, it's been able to open things up. Jared Goff is, I think, first or second in yards per attempt. Why is that? Because he's able to play off of the play action. I remember Dak Prescott being in that same position last year, playing off of the play action and being able to hit guys going down the field with Ezekiel Elliott because of Ezekiel Elliott's running prowess, because of the offensive line, and Ezekiel Elliott's receiving ability. Don't sit here and act like Carson Wentz has the weapon that Todd Gurley is. Todd Gurley is a great running back, and he's being used properly. I'm more impressed with the Rams and McVay and the way he's got this team gelling, but I'm more impressed with Wentz because Wentz, the way you looked at him last season and the way that team fell apart, everybody was already writing his ass off. Jared Goff was already written off, but people were writing Wentz off right from the get-go after the way that the Eagles collapsed last season, and they blamed it on him because he had such a mediocre season after such a stellar start after their first 3 or 4 games. Stop it, Tim.
I disagree with that. Nobody.
Wait. Let Josh go because I want Josh to get his opinions quick because we do have Hobbs on the line.
Plain and simple,
ahead,
Carson Wentz, better touchdowns, more touchdowns. Let's talk about yards per attempt. We could talk about the receiving corp over in Philly compared to what Goff is working with. We could also talk about, what do they have, the same amount of games played pretty much? What's Goff's yardage? It's all pretty much yak. He's going to come back down. He's going to float down to a median that he's the 3,500 to a bottom low 4,000-yard passer. Goff is. He's just really a game manager. He's not going to be – he'll be a decent quarterback. He's not going to be a great quarterback.
All right, Hobbs, you just joined the call. Say with your chest, buddy.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
What's
going on, Hobbs?
Y'all talking about writing people off, writing teams off, and I know y'all already wrote the Bills off.
Oh, of course.
Nah, not me.
Absolutely, no. Every year.
But look, at first it is the name of the game. You know, sometimes you got to grow. You have to go through adversity to grow. And I think this was one of those games, I don't want to call it a trap game or anything, but I think it's one of those games that we did get shown. We got exposed. Our line got exposed. There was no excuse for that game. Worst game of the season. The last the only 2 losses we've had, we lost by 1 score. All right, this was the most lopsided, loss of the season. Granted, it was against the Jets. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Division games are always that way. You guys already know. But I do believe we're gonna get over this hump. and use this game to grow as a team. And if we stick to our fundamentals, like this game, we did not do a single thing right when it comes to the fundamental. You know, we didn't block right, no technique, we didn't protect the gaps. Most of all, we didn't tackle. Tackling, we couldn't tackle. If you guys watch the game, we didn't tackle for anything. We couldn't tackle a whale in that field. But you know, my last point, Tyrod. You know, since the bye, the last 3 games, I don't know if you guys are still sleeping on Tyrod. You guys got to wake up. He's been exceptional. Like himself, he's been exceptional this season. Seriously, like the last 2 games were 2-1. He's a big reason for that. Against Tampa, he was 20 for 33, 268 yards, 1 TD, pass rating 96.5. You know, in a close game. Against the Raiders, where everyone wrote us off, he was 20 for 27, 1 TD, 170 yards, but 101 passer rating.
All right,
No.
Fog may have something to say.
I didn't write the Bills off. I said the Bills would win that game.
Yeah,
that's like, I'm not gonna lie. Everyone, including the experts, everyone wrote us off. You know that. Like nobody had the Bills pegged to win. But that's
because these
I'm glad
experts they don't gamble because they don't realize that.
But my last point against the Jets, you've seen how much duress Tyrod Taylor was under. Every single play, he was under duress. There was not a single clean pocket for him, but yet he was still 29 for 40, 285 yards.
You know, I'm gonna tell you this right now. And you know, first of all, I want to applaud you for being a diehard Bills fan because we do have a lot of fans in 2MW who like to jump ship and join other squads. You're gonna see that. Number 2, Hobbs, I will say this. When I saw that Bills game, you lost the game, but you know what that is? You won a new attitude that team's gonna bring coming in the coming weeks. You know why? Because here's the thing: you got a new addition in Kelvin Benjamin. Yep. You got Zay Jones before he hurt his knee that game. He looked pretty good. Okay, he looked very good. And thank you, Zay Jones, because I started you in one of my fantasy leagues out of nowhere, and you gave me 20 points. So with that being said, this Buffalo Bills team is growing into a team that's going to be able to compete in that AFC East against the Patriots. And so as a fan, I wouldn't worry about that Jet game so much. I think the Bills will be fine. While you're on the line, Hobbs, not to change the subject, I want to ask you a question. In your honest opinion, if you had to rank Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott in 1, 2, and 3, in your opinion, what's your ranking?
This season or overall?
Overall.
I would put Dak Prescott higher than Jared Goff. You said 1, 2, 3. I don't know who the third one was, but overall, yeah, I would take
Goff, Dak, and Wentz.
Oh, Wentz. Okay, that changes it. So last year was a small sample size from Wentz. This year he's tearing up the league. Overall, I would probably, it's a toss-up between Wentz and Dak, but just from the sample size, I would probably take Dak, put him as 1 overall with, you know, the running ability, and Wentz got all that too. But you know, and plus Dak got Des Bryant. Wentz doesn't really have a receiver, but overall, I think Dak would be 1, Carson Wentz would be 2, and Jared Goff would be 3. In my opinion.
Real quick, Hobbs. The reason why I asked you that, there's a reason why I asked you that, Hobbs. You want to ask you that, Hobbs? Because here's the thing: we got one of the hypocrites you're looking at dressed up in an outfit in Fogman. Love Fogman, but he be switching his points. Excuse me.
I need to hear this because now you done did it. Right now. I don't care if you're talking. You
Hobbs our guest. Let's be nice to Hobbs. Hobbs. The reason why I'm asking
on this show tomorrow, I'm killing him tonight.
Come on. The reason why I'm asking Hobbs this question is because Hobbs, you know what it is? You just heard us talk about how Carson Wentz didn't have this, that, and the third. But you as a Buffalo Bills fan with Tyrod Taylor, how much grief was you getting that Tyrod sucks in this, he sucks in that, and then meanwhile, he didn't even have wide receivers named Larry, Curly, or Moe. Tyrod Taylor never had no weapons in his career of football. And he was still getting disrespected. Nobody ever came out and said, hey, Tyrod Taylor's a good quarterback, but he has no weapons. Am I right? Am I right, Hobbs? Hello?
I think he hung up. Tim. So where am I a hypocrite? I want to hear this. Where am I a hypocrite?
Let's go. I'm ready to hear this.
Where am I a hypocrite?
Listen, I think wait. I think you are, because the thing is this: you argue a point for your team, but won't argue that same point for everybody else. You was one of the ones that said Tyrod Taylor in the first place because X, Y, and Z, but nobody ever said, well, he had, other than me, myself, and I, they came out and said that he had no wide receiver. He had no help. All he had was a running back in McCoy. That's not enough for a wide receiver to do. Do you think if Carson Wentz didn't have
First of all, because I never said Tyrod Taylor was not a starting quarterback. No, I did not.
I apologize.
I did not say that. I said
I apologize.
When we were talking about the Buffalo Bills, I said in my exact comments was Tyrod Taylor hasn't had a wide receiver to work with, and he can't just work with McCoy. I also said that offensive line in pass blocking is trash. And to Hobbs, thank you for calling Hobbs, but I'm going to elaborate on why Buffalo is not going to be in contention, is not going to make the playoffs. They're the 31st worst pass blocking offensive line in the league. Tyrod is doing a lot of running around and making throws in the same fashion that Russell Wilson is. But he's not Russell Wilson. He doesn't have the same completion percentage as Russell Wilson. He doesn't have the same touchdown to interception ratio as Russell Wilson. He's just not the same quarterback IQ-wise as Russell Wilson. Tyrod Taylor is working with a deck that is stacked against him. And to think that Kelvin Benjamin, Tim, you're the hypocrite. We were just discussing, Kelvin McNugget Benjamin and how he looks like a left tackle. And now all of a sudden you're saying they've got a solid number one.
Wait a second. Hold up.
Kelvin Benjamin?
Let's wrap it up.
Wait, hold up a second. Hold up a second now, Fogman. I never agreed with you. I laughed with you. I laughed with you. I didn't agree with you. I like Kelvin Benjamin. What I said about I laughed with you was hilarious. The stuff you were saying about I can't front. The pregnancy and all that. That was funny. But all I said was it's about time the Buffalo Bills put on their pants and make some move to say, hey, Patriots, he's a star. I think when him and Zay Jones there, and you got your Andre Holmes, the Deontay Thompson. But that's you, Hobbs?
We seen him week 2. He played against us week 2, and he had the star of the game, for Carolina. He's a solid number 1, and the thing is, what you alluded to, Fogman, about our worst pass blocking. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we do have the worst pass blocking, but we also have a quarterback that I think he's smarter than Russell Wilson. He has a higher IQ, and he has less to work with than Russell Wilson won a championship. But he had a lot of help. He always had Jimmy Graham. He had a lot of help. Superstar.
So wait. Jimmy Graham hasn't been good, Hobbs, since he left New Orleans. Let's make that let's put that out. Number 1. Number 2. What's Russell Wilson working with this?
Maybe I am reaching about the higher IQ, whatever. But Tyrod Taylor is exceptional, and now that he has a legit number 1 with Zay Jones, with Deontay Thompson, with McCoy, and with Andre Holmes, and Jordan Matthews, I think we are gonna be contenders. We're only 5-3. We're still right now playoff starter. We're the 6th seed. Right now, 5-3. I think we have a legitimate shot this year to make the playoffs. I really do. It's not one of those dream seasons, hyped up seasons. I think the hype is really real. And I think we're gonna prove a lot of people wrong. We're not wrong. We really are contenders. But anyway, it's always all love. Love listening to y'all, man. Y'all take it easy, man. Have a good night.
Thanks for calling us.
Good luck, man. See you in the playoffs.
All right, peace. All right.
No doubt.
So I guess that's.
I love his enthusiasm. I really do.
They're making the playoffs. Those are making the playoffs.
Dream alive. I'm with him with the Seahawks. I'm praying, and a lot of faith and a lot of drinking. But that's our show. Thanks everybody for joining us, watching in. We'll be back again, same time, same place as usual. Fury in and out. No doubt.
Knuckleheads.
We out.